Time they pull back there, its arms and its shoulders and its stomach muscles. They work so hard. They're now off into the second half of the race. Lap 6. There you can see third place up in front, Heffernan. Going through on Tracy Ann Brooks. Good on you, girl, for being out there.
Yeah, that's a top effort.
The only thing I'd say she was doing wrong is looking behind her. Charge on and hold your line. People will find their way around. 26, Nigel Arnold. Long since lost interest in his Honda from Woody's Motorcycles.
Well, these leading four seem to be bunching up more and more every lap.
Darrell Atkins, Eddie Warren. Heffernan. Oh, boy, aren't they turning it into great potential. And Mark Kirkman. Lap 6.
Heffernan and Kirkman. I think they're gradually closing on Eddie.
Yeah. Like a good, well-handicapped race. Oh, third. Fourth again. Heffernan holding on 7 from Kirkman on 12. On lap 7 now. And there's the battle for the lead. Darrell Atkins and Eddie Warren. And you can see the bouncing, springing, jumping maniacs behind are not very far back either. So it really is a beauty. Camera helping a little bit to make it look close, but it's really very close. There wouldn't be 3 seconds, I don't think. Over the first 4 placings. Down the hill comes Kirkman. Back there on 12, having a charge at Heffernan. Darrell Atkins leads them all, but barely.
I don't think Kirkman will get him in that position. He's tried a couple of times coming down the hill. I could be wrong. I may have seen a flash of yellow go through.
7 completed. Atkins and Warren.
Yes,
New
Kirkman
Zealand,
into 3, into third
United
spot.
States. 12 is third, Kirkman. Fourth, therefore, is Lyndon Heffernan. Back there on 7. And up among the back runners now, well and truly, keeps them busy, adds a little bit of further difficulty.
Yeah, well, the lappers, they can sometimes decide the winner and loser of a race. You just can't judge what they're going to do. You've always got to be thinking ahead. Eddie's very well experienced going through the slow traffic.
"19-year-old Atkins, 24-year-old Eddie Warren. Honda versus KTM. Japan versus Europe. And 8 laps completed. And $1,000 being argued over by these guys. 4,650 overall. Heffernan's back into third place. He's got back past Kirkman. And still Eddie Warren just can't find the bit of magic. He gets the KTM so far out of shape. You can see in the background there a flash of Lyndon Heffernan on 7 in third place.
Eddie is certainly trying. He's got the thing sliding all over the track. He's got the gas on as early as possible. He's just not getting that grip coming out of the turns.
Third and fourth place, this is the battle. It's changed places a number of times. At the moment, Heffernan 7 is doing the job on Mark Kirkman 12. So that's Yamaha leads Honda for third and fourth.
The blue flag out indicating the last lap.
And still Darrell Atkins, New Zealand. The man doing the job over Eddie Warren. Fast Eddie, they call him. And he is too. He's the Australian champion in 2 classes. He's a Supercross ace from America. And there's Tracy Ann Brooks being lapped a second time, so it gives you an idea of just how hard these guys are charging.
Well, Darrell Atkins is looking good. There's not far to go for Eddie to try anything.
Oh, my God.
That's
Eddie,
the end of it.
one could say, is in a fair bit of trouble. $800, Eddie. $1,000 this man. Eddie looking at 800. But a couple of guys coming past and getting the glaze in their eyes as over the finishing line goes Darrell Atkins, 19-year-old from New Zealand, saying, "Thank you, delicious." And into second place goes Lyndon Heffernan on the Yamaha number 7. And third place, that man, 12, just coming up to lap Tracy Ann Brooks. On 12, Mark Kirkman for Suzuki, Australia.
How do you feel after that one?
Yeah, I felt really good in that race. I was riding a little bit nervous at the beginning of the race because Eddie was right on me. But I got my strings together and pulled it off, and that's what I wanted.
Well, I can tell you, Eddie was right on your heel there up until the middle of the last lap when you came off. Did you realise you come off?
No, I heard the crowd go, so that's the reason why I didn't double over there by the finish, because I knew something must have happened, so I was lucky.
This is the big one at the Moomba Supercross at Calder Park, Calder, 25 kilometres northwest of Melbourne. It's the A and B grade riders in the 250cc final. They are racing for $40,000, $15,000 for first prize, and the top riders in Australia and riders from 3 other countries as well are in there, and it's very, very hard indeed to pick the result out of it. Have a look at the class of the field. 1, Glenn Bell, 4, Stephen Andrew, and 2, Craig Dack. Beside them, K is Darryl King from New Zealand. He's gone well earlier tonight. Eddie Warren backing up from a hectic 125cc race just earlier. Shane King from New Zealand, another hard runner who's had good results earlier. Stephen Maguire from Victoria. And 6 from New South Wales, Ben Parisi. And H, Jeff Hicks from the United States. And 9, Troy Doran, who just fell lightly off his bike in the 125cc race. And 12, as they start up now, James Deacon. And 33 is Jason Marshall. And Len Williamson there, overlooking them all. Oliver Perrin from France on the Kawasaki. He went very well earlier tonight, but hasn't been much noticed other than in one race. 15 was Dale Britton. 22 is Lee Hogan. 13 is Mark Kirkman for Suzuki Australia. And 19 is Phil Robinson. 16 is Stan Bergen. 11 is Tony Fenton from Quick Snacks Brisbane Yamaha. 7 is Lyndon Heffernan. Again, just having finished the 125cc race, Glenn Poole's on 14 for Action Suzuki. A packed field, an enormous prize purse, and all in readiness on a track that's now pretty dry, pretty hard, a little bit slidey. 15,000 for first place, 40 grand for the field. Moomba Supercross at Keilor at Calder Park, and they go away, grimly determined as they've never been before. Funneling down in under the bridge, it's 20 laps. So a good starting position, vital for Andrew. The first man out, but already overtaken by the flying Glenn Bell for Honda. And then by Dack. So we've had 3 leaders already. And they have leapt away from the field, and there's mayhem further back. And it's big dollar mayhem too.
Well, it was a big move by Dacky, just blocking Bell out of the way there. Exactly what he had to do. Stephen Andrew coming up on the inside on Glenn Bell.
So, Dack coming round now to complete lap 1, and the excitement and the nerves over, settling in now and going for hard, relentless riding, but no error riding. Dack. And Bell.
Not a great deal in it. Stephen Andrews dropping back a little bit now.
And that lap, some 2 odd seconds faster than they managed in any race earlier tonight. 47.5 seconds. They really are serious. This is big money, producing big performances. And Dack getting away from Bell. Bell that's beaten him 6 out of 7 times this season in early season races and in Supercross. The man on form. This man, Dispirited, allegedly. Have a look at the Dispirited rider on number 2. Lap 2 and he leads across the finishing line again. And if that's Dispirited, it's pretty good.
Glenn Bell just rolled all 3 of the last jumps over the finish line there. Whether he's got a problem or not, I'm not sure. But this is the Dack we're used to seeing, the old Dack attack, back out in front, doing it with ease, just looking so smooth. Bell looks to be in a bit of trouble there. Stephen Andrew going around the outside of him.
Running out wide up towards Bunting there. We look down, you see them go under the bridge and over the bridge. They punch up the hill as at the Coliseum in Los Angeles. But Craig Dack, the man at the moment, that they can't pin back, that's doing it better than anyone. 25 years old, 20th in the world motocross championships last year from a small number of appearances, and looking very impressive. And Glenn Bell in second place on 1. The man on form and glorious over there, being threatened by Stephen Andrew on 4. Honda, Yamaha, the first 3 placings.
Well, it doesn't seem to be anything wrong with Glenn Bell. He's just a bit hesitant on a few spots of the tracks, letting Craig Dack do his own thing out in front.
And to the glory of local riders, we have Dean Burt immediately behind those 4. He's on 5. On 10, Stephen Maguire. And the first of the visitors from overseas, from 4 different countries, is Eddie Warren in 6th place. Then we have 22, Lee Hogan. And in fact, we have to go down a long way. Oh, sorry. In 4th place, S, is Shane King from New Zealand. Taking him to be 5, Dean Burt. So Shane King, and again, Dak building up this lead. Really, how much has he been foxing? Just psyching himself and preparing the machine as his arch rival for this and for all Supercross honours and for motocross honours. Glenn Bell is back to 4th place on bike 1. So Stephen Andrew on 4 coming through, and also
Glenn Bell is in.
Shane King.
Glenn Bell's moved back to 3rd. Andrew's moved into 2nd. Now this is an unbelievable lead Dackie's got just off the start. All he has to do is just think properly from now on and just can't afford to make any more mistakes.
And this is the most money they've ever raced for. It really is, in motocross standards, big money. I mean, to give you an idea, to win a touring car championship round, Dick Johnson last year got $1,250 using a $250,000 motor car in a team with spares and so on worth more than $1 million and an annual running budget of several million. These bikes cost $6,000 or $7,000, and they're going to recoup the cost of the bike, which they don't own anyway, in 20 minutes, one of them. There's S. Shane King ahead of Glenn Bell.
I don't know what Glenn Bell's problem is, but it's certainly not like him to be dropping back to the field. Usually it's him moving towards the front.
He'll be a very disappointed man. 15,000 for first, drop 6 for second place, down to 9. Drop another 4, down to third place, 5,000. 3.5 for fourth place, 2,000 for fifth, and 1,000 for sixth. Just a little bit less than Dick Johnson gets for 50 minutes of racing in his Ford Sierra Cosworth Turbo, if he wins the race. So, it's good money.
As you can see, Dack's already going through the field. He's lapping with number 5 there, Dean Burt. Followed by Stephen Andrew, Shane King and Glenn Bell.
Shane King and Bell mixing it. So, really disappointing here for Glenn Bell, but not so for this man on number 2, whose sponsor said, yes, you can forget our sponsorship name for tonight to race in Victoria. Please wear some bright red and white. And with 7 completed now by just one man, by Craig Dack. Then we see Shane King.
Shane King just dropping a little short on the double jump there, casing out.
Coming up the hill again on lap 8. He's got it working nicely underneath him, just standing up off it. In the distance, you saw 16 there, Stan Bergen, Outrider Midnight Racing. Well, he's a couple of hours before midnight. And he's back in 18th. Mr. Bergen on 16. So that says our lap scorer knows what's going on. Thank you, Nigel Greenway. And on 11, Tony Fenton there. You just saw a flash as this man, as they saw a flash of this man, Craig Dack, blasting by.
Well, he's got printed on the back of the helmet a big Dak's back, so I guess he's putting that right into action.
Yes, and he's an unusually big rider for any sort of a motorcycle rider. He's 1.82 metres tall. Solid sort of a lad.
He certainly is. He's probably one of the heaviest guys in motocross racing.
But at the moment, he's the most successful of them for Australia's richest supercross. Moomba at Calder. And that's 8 laps completed by Mr. Dak, 25 years old, from New South Wales, and an Australian representative in the motocross nations for the last 4 years, 86, 87, 88 and 89, and with Jeff Lees last year as he works his way past Troy Doran, K&J Thomas Yamaha entry from Victoria. And in that national motocross championship, country against country, in which Australia in 89 finished 7th and in 88 distinguished themselves by finishing 4th, Dak has been a vital part of that on each occasion.
Well, Glenn Bell has certainly got to have problems. He's just dropped back to 5th position, so very unlike him.
Tony Fenton there on 11 is down, way down, 20th place.
Stephen Andrews still sitting in 2nd position.
And the next man being lined up by Craig Dak is Stan Bergen on 16. We saw him a little bit earlier. And 9 laps now completed. Sorry, 10 laps. 10 laps to the 20 lapper, half distance. And will the violence never stop? Surely is the question of the riders. As their arms get weary, as their necks ache, as the helmets feel heavy, trying to tear their head off their shoulders. Number 7 is Lyndon Heffernan, outrider Yamaha. No one, though, the equal in this 24-bike field of the rider on number 2, Craig Stephen Dak. Goes wide there and easing back a little, and Heffernan came underneath him temporarily.
Yeah, as you can see, Dackie's just taking a bit cautious while he's round the lap riders, which is good. He's got enough of a lead to be thinking about exactly what he's doing without rushing through it.
Mark Kirkman being lined up by Dak next on 13. Very cautious around some of those, and well, $15,000 caution. And you'd feel awfully silly, wouldn't you, if you slipped off with this sort of a lead and you're fighting to get the rotten thing upright and get back into the action, and suddenly the realization dawned on you that you couldn't make it, and you could see 15 grand. 15 grand, a lovely pay. So at the moment, it is Dak on 2. First place, second place Stephen Andrew on 4. S is in third place Shane King from Yamaha New Zealand. Fourth behind him is number 10, that is Maguire. And fifth place is 1, Glenn Bell. Sixth place is K, Darryl King from New Zealand. There's third.
Good performance by King to be still sitting in 3rd position. Funnily enough, we haven't even heard a mention of Eddie Warren in this final.
Just a little way back, actually, to Eddie. 7th place on E. So the New Zealanders have come over, some of the country's hottest riders, and done very well indeed. But when it finally got down to the big money into the finals, it was the Australians, and specifically Craig Dak on number 2. The Dak attack is back. It is flying, and this is the sort of fillip that his mental preparation really needs, because Ray Vandenberg, when he goes down in a big way, doesn't he?
Exactly. He needs this confidence. While he's in front, he's just such a strong rider. Picture of Eddie
in 7th place.
But as I was about to mention, one time in Adelaide there, he led the whole race till 2 laps from the end. he had a bit of pressure from another American. On the last corner, he looped out and lost the whole lot. So it's never over till the finish.
12 lined up by Dak. James Deacon, Honda Australia from Queensland. And Deacon and Maguire and Glenn Bell and some of the overseas visitors and some of the other Australians are all top, hard, very fit runners in Supercross and Motocross. But they're being demolished tonight by this man. And he will be absolutely delighted. He's completed 14 laps. He's on his 15th in a 20-lap, $40,000 race with 15 grand for the position that he's occupying at the moment. And remember, on lap 1, if not much has happened since then up at the front of the race, because of the way he's been riding. Because on lap 1, 3 people at varying times held the lead until finally the rider on 2 came through, asserted himself, and just ran away from the rest of them and said, come on if you're good enough.
Certainly, Will. He's riding so solid. Just each back marker he comes up to, he's thinking about it. There's Stephen Andrews sitting in 2nd position, still doing a fine job. I don't think there's any challenge to him from 3rd.
Heffernan being lapped by him.
Quite amazing. Some of the riders they're lapping here, you know, like our top national motocross riders. So these guys out in front
Heffernan.
Certainly, they've got the pace going. There's no doubt about that.
We always knew that when the money came on that it would get very serious, but what happened was that one man got more serious about it than anybody else. And he had the fitness, the resolve, the machine preparation too. That's very important because, for instance, carburettor jetting on these things can be vital. And if you get it wrong, as conditions change through the night, well, that can be disastrous.
That's right, Will. They have set up times during the afternoon where it's practice and, you know, like the humidity is a lot different. At night, the bike runs a lot leaner, so you adjust the jetting according to that.
16 completed now by Dak.
Certainly looking good for him.
Oh, that was fairly wide.
Yeah, getting out there with the straw bales.
He was. He goes past James Deacon, and Deacon is another top runner. Queensland is locked up the rear there. Started to wonder whether the engine was getting a bit tired, but it was the ride on the brake, I think.
Yeah, it's generally the case with those short switchback turns. You just lock up the back brake, spin around, and accelerate again. But looking good. You can all see why he's 3 times Mr. Motocross winner.
A title, I might say, won by your good self in '83.
Yeah, I was fortunate enough to win it in '83.
And not inappropriate to talk of another man who was just a superb motocross rider in Australia, who was 2nd in the World Championships last year, Jeffrey Least. In fact, you beat, didn't you, Ray, in '83?
Yeah, I used to be able to beat Jeffrey back in '83, '82, and then he journeyed over to the States and came back '84 and '85 and just wiped Australia in a clean slate. Hasn't looked back since.
And in fact, it surely is his determination up at that level that carries him through, as he did last year, to 2nd in the World Championships.
Yeah, he's just brilliant. He has this tunnel vision. He wants to be a world champion, and there's no doubt about it, he will make that.
And to look at it another way, we think Craig Dak is working hard here in a 20-lapper in less than 20 minutes, but Jeff Least, to have success in one round of the World Championships, has to do 4 of these in the afternoon because he does 2 45-minute motos.
Yeah, that's right, Will. 2 45 minutes plus 2 laps, so it's 50 minutes on the track. And riding a 500cc motorcycle is a big task.
David Armstrong being passed there on 17. Now another top rider, factory-backed rider, being lapped by Dak.
Yeah, it's showing that Dacky is certainly on the pace, so these other guys are just, you know, a little bit off the pace, and each lap it keeps building up.
Bell still back in 5th place on bike number 1. So to run through the placings again, it is Dak on 2 in 1st place, still from Stephen Andrew in 4. He's 2nd. S is in 3rd place. That's Shane King, the New Zealander, the best of the visiting riders from France and the United States and from New Zealand. Then in behind him is 10 Maguire, 1 Glenn Bell, and K, which is Darryl King from New Zealand. So there's Atkins on 5. 19 laps have been completed now. Craig Dack is on his final lap for the biggest prize money he's ever been offered. And he's going to take the big share of 40 grand, 15 for Mr. Dack, and that sure represents a big and successful attack up the top of the hill. And now's the nervy time. Now's the time where he is starting to think about the money. Before, he was racing and thinking about the machine and the track. Now is the time when you start to think, I'm nearly home, and dollar signs can come into the eyes.
Well, this is it, Will. Going to this corner here, I'm sure he's going to have a smile on his face, and he deserves it too.
So headed to the finishing line, and 15 grand is his. And it's a hands-off jump as he comes over the finishing line, followed home not so very far behind by bike number 4. And that is Stephen Andrews from Victoria. And he's done well to finish just 8.5 seconds behind Craig Dack. Not much in the 20-lap race. Finally, as they went across the finishing line, a race time for Mr. Dack of 18 minutes, 11.27 seconds. And a sensational, totally dominant, and as it turns out, very rich performance.
Craig, absolutely marvellous. What a magic finish.
Very, very happy. I mean, I've been struggling a lot lately with my form, and I put a lot into this race, and my girlfriend's father actually promoted the race, and it was good to do it for her and her father, and it was good for me and all my sponsors. I'm really, really happy.
How does 18 minutes, 11 seconds sound to you?
I don't really care about the time. I won, and I'm just extremely happy about it. The money is a bonus, but I mean, it's good to get out of that rut I've been in, and I feel on top of the world at the moment.
A great scene for motorcycling with a tremendous crowd streaming away from Calder. It must really have been at least 20,000 people, and an absolutely jubilant Craig Dack taking the major money from Australia's richest ever Supercross and one of the richest in the world. Thanks for joining us here on ABC Sport.
Nothing.